Josh, can you believe that this is the 50th episode?
Dude, honestly, it's pretty crazy just because when I first started Take a Step back in, it was the very beginning of 2023. And the way it started was literally just creating an Instagram page and putting out a post. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of did it like in the closet for the first 2 months because I didn't want
Sure.
anyone to know. And then
I know the
somehow,
feeling.
like a couple people I know started following the account, and it was like, oh crap, people are like figuring out what I'm doing. And that turned into the podcast at the end of 2023, and it's just kind of been, it started out every other week, then we moved into weekly. So it's really cool to see where it's come to, and episode 50 is a pretty cool milestone to hit now. This is the Take a Step podcast, where we help faith-driven young men reject complacency and take purposeful action every day. My name's Josh Johnston. Let's take a step.
Welcome back to the Take a Step podcast, where faith-driven young men engage with content and community to overcome complacency and take purposeful action in their lives. My name is Turner Lee, and this week I'll be your guest co-host because I have the honor of interviewing my good friend and the founder of Take a Step, Mr. Josh Johnston. Those of us who know Josh personally or follow his personal accounts on social media know a bit of the context around who he is and the story of Take a Step. But we thought that episode 50 was a perfect milestone to flip the script and make the interviewer the interviewee. So that's what we're doing today. Let's jump right into the episode.
Turner,
All right.
man, what an intro. I'm not gonna lie, when you said that you wanted to open up this episode, I was like, well, we'll see where he takes this, but maybe I should just clip that and let that roll for every recording moving forward.
Do it. No, don't do it for every episode, but I think that was fitting. I played off of everything that you always say. I've listened to all 49 of the other episodes, so I kind of hear you, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I love it.
Josh, can you believe that this is the 50th episode?
Dude, honestly, it's pretty crazy just because when I first started Take a Step back in, it was the very beginning of 2023. And the way it started was literally just creating an Instagram page and putting out a post. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of did it like in the closet for the first 2 months because I didn't want anyone to know. And then somehow, like a couple people I know started following the account, and it was like, oh crap, people are like figuring out what I'm doing. And that turned into the podcast at the end of 2023, and it's just kind of been, it started out every other week, then we moved into weekly. So it's really cool to see where it's come to, and episode 50 is a pretty cool milestone to hit now. Hey guys, we'll jump right back into the conversation, but I want to give y'all a quick look into MMP Customs. They make all of the Take a Step apparel, and they are the official sponsor of the Take a Step podcast. Check them out.
Hey guys, I'm Nathan Mooney, co-owner of MMP Customs. We are a custom merchandise company specializing in screen printing and embroidery. If you're a business, band, school, or any other type of organization that needs custom merchandise, MMP Customs is the place. Whether you have a big apparel need for an event or need to outfit your company, we offer a no minimum guarantee and have never missed an approved deadline. At MMP Customs, you will experience the best customer service there is. Let our family outfit yours. Visit mmpcustoms.com. That's mmpcustoms.com.
Oh, it is. It's amazing, man. Well, I'm glad you're feeling good about it. I'm just amazed at the growth that I've seen. I've only been following the podcast for less than a year, but I enjoyed motoring through the backlog and getting caught up to where we are. And it's a lot of fun. Excellent content that you put forth, and I'm really looking forward to this interview today. Just getting to introduce your followers, maybe your newest followers, people that don't know you personally, just a little bit more of who you are and where you've been. So let's just start by you introducing yourself as you invite your guests to do every week. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, definitely. So Josh Johnston, founder of Take a Step, also work for the 1% Club, a life and business coaching practice as well. But I love the question of, can you introduce yourself, or, because it dives into the concept of like how you identify, what is your identity? And for me, like first and foremost, my identity is in Christ. I'm a follower of Jesus. He has, everything I do, all of my desires, all of my passions flow through him first. I am a husband to my wife, Jaden, who is one of the greatest things that has ever happened to me. I'm a father to our 9-month-old Emerson Brooks Johnston, call her Emmy. But yeah, for what I get to do for work through Take a Step, I get to build this community and really drive engagement with young men in their 20s and 30s that have a passion for their own personal growth. They're very growth minded and want to surround themselves with other guys that not only want to grow personally but want to grow collectively. So that's kind of what I get to do. And then also I mentioned I work for the 1% Club. It's a coaching practice that works with entrepreneurs and business leaders on really helping them align their personal and professional goals. So, so many people get into business where, they want to grow their business and scale it to a certain point, but then they realize that either they don't have the clarity on where they're actually trying to get to, or they get overwhelmed because they don't have the systems and structures in place to where they grow their business, but their personal life is deteriorating on the back end. So how can we provide a little bit of structure so that we can grow both personally and professionally at the same time? So that's what I get to do for work. In my free time, I'm a big fitness guy. I love signing up for stupid races and pushing myself to my limit. I love being able to spend time with family, get out on weekends with wife and new daughter and our dog Cooper. I love playing golf. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Fantastic, man. So tell us a little bit about your career and how, where you were coming out of college and what you did at the beginning of your career, and how that kind of metamorphosized or spawned into what you're doing now.
Yeah. So I'll start it by kind of like taking a step into where I was in college, because I think that provides a good start to how I got started in my career. So when I was in college, I played college baseball, and I had throughout my college journey, as I moved on into my upperclassmen years, as I was a junior and a senior, I to be honest, I had a pretty clear path to play professionally after college, and that's what was on my radar, and that's what I was being told was we're going to be the next step. So I was kind of trying to make plans there, working as hard as I could, and really didn't have any other backup plan, because that's what was the clear path at the time. And if I graduated in the beautiful year of 2020, which was just the perfect year to graduate and try to get into the avenue of professional baseball, when there was almost no season that year. There were no minor league seasons that year. Every team lost money. The draft got cut from 40 rounds to 5 rounds, and there's very, very little, if any, free agent signings at all. So someone coming out of a smaller NAIA school was just at a disadvantage. And I say all that, and every time I tell the story, it's funny because I always feel like I'm just like coming up with this list of excuses, which is true. But at the end of the day, I look back and it's just like, it was a blessing in disguise, because it was 100% God having his hand in my story, because I was dating Jaden at the time. We had been making plans to get engaged and to start planning on when we're going to get married. And I know so many people who have been through the minor league lifestyle. And for me, looking back, it would have been the biggest test of my life. And like looking back, the COVID years were the biggest test of my life, to be honest. But like, I'm very happy the way it ended up working out, because I think God really had his hand in my story in order to guide me away from giving me the opportunity to play minor league baseball and having the opportunity to continue pursuing that dream of playing professional baseball. So at the end of the day, it wasn't God's timing for me to continue playing. And how that led into my professional career, I had no plan. So I was like, all right, what am I supposed to do? What are the people around me saying that I should do? So, get an entry level job, get into corporate America, and start working your way up the corporate ladder. It's the easiest first step. So for me, I was like, I knew I wanted to be in sales because I love the competitiveness of the industry. I love relationships. I love talking with people. I love providing value for people. So I looked around for a ton of entry-level sales roles. I got a job selling print advertising and game day programs and yearbooks for professional sports organizations. So did that for about a year and a half. And like looking back on it, I definitely got burnt out very quickly, just because it was an old school job. You get your leads given to you. You have your phone and your computer, and you say, make your calls, get to work. Calls are recorded. We're gonna role play, learn the script, refine the script. And it was a pound the stone kind of job where like every single day you're doing the same thing. You're churning out volume. You're working hard. But it's the kind of job where like it's black and white. What you put in, you're gonna get out. And I was able to see some good results from that. But I got to the point to where I was just like so burnt out on the work I was doing every day, showing up and just making 150 to 200 calls a day, just talking about the same thing that I really deep down I knew I didn't have a passion for.
Right.
So I got to a point where I was ready to start looking for what my next move was, and I thought it was the company, right? I thought if I find a better company that has better benefits, that offers better pay, better long-term planning and security for my family, I thought that was going to be the answer. So I got a job at a little bit of a bigger company, in another sales role. But about a year and a half later, I came to the exact same spot where I was just like so burnt out, so unfulfilled with the work I was doing. And I came to a point where I'm like, I do not want this to be the story of my career. Like, I don't want to like go somewhere, figure out it's not for me, go somewhere else, because I'm someone that like takes loyalty very seriously. And I hated that. Like, I was looking at my LinkedIn profile and I'm seeing like, all right, was here, did this internship when I was in college, got a job, left, got a new job, left. And then I'm going to now look for another job. And that didn't sit well with me. So I'm like, I did a lot of soul searching during that time of figuring out like, what do I actually want to be doing? Like, what fuels me? What do I feel like my God-given purpose is in this world? How can I offer value to this world? And I kept coming back to this world of personal development, of the idea of striving to be the best version of yourself, and really inspiring others to go on that journey with me. Like, I love diving into deep conversations with people about not only how they're doing, but, there's the difference in the question of, how are you doing? Like, everyone asks, how you doing? What's going on?
Yep.
But there's a difference in that question and like, how are you really doing? Like, what's really going on in your life? What kind of goals do you have? What kind of challenges are you facing? What needs to be celebrated that you've been successful at recently? Like, things like that go beneath the surface level. I loved, and I was trying to figure out how can I take that and use that in a career field and apply for jobs in that way, and I couldn't really find anything. So while I was at that company, for my second job, I was just like, you know what? I kept on saying to myself, I just need to take a step and do something for myself. And that phrase, take a step, just kept coming to mind. So for me, I was like, this was in a time just after COVID, like 1 or 2 years removed from COVID, where the rise of influencers and like everybody thinks they're their own guru on social media. So I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm this like expert. I was 24 at the time, I believe. But I'm like, I don't think I'm this expert, but I at least feel like what I have to say is valuable, and I think people will resonate with it. So I'm just going to start an Instagram account and start putting out content, and that's kind of where Take a Step started. So I'll pause there, and we can pick up there whenever you want.
Man, yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure it didn't feel like a blessing at the time to go through to kind of hit the wall, hit a roadblock in those two first career moves. But I think it's really remarkable and really just part of like what makes you who you are. I mean, you're a young guy, right? But you've got a lot of wisdom that just, I don't know, that just shines through every time I encounter you. You've had a lot of experience already. Who do you think are some of the people in your life, or what do you think put in you this drive really to make these kind of moves and to go deep with the wisdom content that are just drawn to, and that you're living your life by, these principles that you're living your life by? Who are some of the influences? Where does this come from?
Yeah, so I would say a couple things. First to hit on the relationships and I think the influences on my life. When I growing up, there were a lot of like I grew up in a very faith-centered household. We went to church every Sunday. I was a professing believer growing up. And my mom was really the faith leader of our household. My dad was a believer as well, but my mom was the one that really spearheaded all the conversations. And for me growing up, I had this interesting relationship with my faith, being that it was I had this very like nurture based view, because I got everything from my mom. And because of that, I kind of viewed men in the church as kind of soft or weak or just kind of like pushovers, because I never really got that like masculine male figure in my life that I respected, that also was like that prioritized their faith and that stood up for what they believed in when it came to their relationship with Jesus. And when I got to college, I got around a select few guys that are still some of my best friends to this day. Interestingly enough, they were all in my wedding. But I got around guys that, from the outside lens, outside of the faith, I looked at them and I respected them. There were guys I wanted to be around. And the closer I got to them, the more they started to tell me not only what I wanted to hear, which is, what most of the relationships I had up until that point did, but they told me, what I needed to hear. They challenged me with, are your actions actually confirming the person that you claim to be? You claim to be a believer, you claim to be a hard worker, you claim to be somebody that wants to be respected, but are you living like someone that deserves to be respected? Are you living according to the faith that you claim to, subscribe to? So all of those things, like coming from guys that I respected outside of being Christian or not, was a first for me, and it was something that it was really attractive to me. So I wanted to be around that more, and the more I was around that, the more I realized the value in a true, authentic relationship that's based on depth and meaning, rather than just superficialness and people that are going to go out and have a good time with you and tell you what you want to hear. College can do one of two things to someone. It can push you very deep into a hole, or it can propel you ahead to set you on a solid foundation so that post grad you can really fast track your life. And I feel like from a mental perspective, I was already on that. I had that foundation laid, but I just needed to figure out what it was that was going to be my path. And that's why I think those first few jobs, while they obviously, looking back, I know they weren't, the long-term destination as far as, what was going to propel me in my career. But I think those were necessities for me to figure out, what I didn't want to do, but they also taught me a lot. Like I learned a lot from those roles. So yeah. I think the relationships, obviously, that I had in college, with both friends and coaches, I think those were some of the influences that really helped me build the foundation. And then I think one more thing that you talk about with just like the wisdom, and I don't claim to have a bunch of wisdom, but I think for me, the one thing that makes up for it is the action. I think I'm always someone that's had to take a lot more action in my life than the average person, and that came from my childhood. Growing up, I was a very, very little kid. I did not hit puberty until probably my sophomore or junior year in high school. And I graduated high school. I was probably 5'8", maybe 145 pounds, maybe soaking wet. And being an athlete and somebody that was like driven based on their accomplishments and the approval of others, like I had to work harder than everyone else just to meet the baseline. And I think I had it like, because my identity was placed in a lot of things athletic in the world of athletics. I think because I had to work so hard, it laid the foundation for the work ethic that I have today. I think I'm the first episode that I had for the Take a Step podcast. I hit on the verse. I think it's Genesis 50:20. But it's when God, or it was Joseph, that Joseph's brother sold him into slavery. And then years later, when there was a famine in the land, all of the brothers had to go into Egypt to collect food to bring back, so that they could all survive. And they get to Egypt, and when they're getting their food, they come face to face with Joseph, who's the one that's worked his way up to a position to be right under Pharaoh, who ruled the land. And they come face to face with him, and Joseph looks at his brother years later after they sold him into slavery. They told their dad that he died. And he looks at him and he says, what you meant for evil, God used for good to bring about the present result. And I'm not saying in my life, like, me being undersized was evil, but it was I felt like I was at a disadvantage, and I think that God was using that disadvantage to mold a certain characteristic in me of work ethic that causes me to be so, I feel like I have an action first mindset because of that, and I think that's given me a lot of advantages in the world today.
Man, yeah, that's awesome to hear you talk about. And it's definitely, you see that theme kind of repeated over and over in scripture, just God taking the lesser things of the world, the things, that from a worldly perspective seem like a disadvantage, feel like a disadvantage. And continually just he reveals himself to be a good and gracious and powerful and trustworthy God by shining through, coming through, and shaming those things that seem like weaknesses, so that he can be the one who receives the glory. I definitely see that in your life, man. That's awesome. He's had you on an uncommon path, like you said. Coming through at McConnell College, very similar for me going to Tacoma Falls College. Just
Yeah.
those 4 years of life were not a time that separated me from God. They were a time that drove us both a lot deeper in our faith. And man, just the things that you said. You heard and learned from the guys in your life in that season. I hear echoed in your life and see echoed in your life. I'm thinking about the weekly mile from two weekly miles ago. Just you talking about the same words that you said a few minutes ago. Just the taking that wisdom chunk, but then actually putting it into action. You always talk about the book of James in chapter 1, just putting things into action, putting our faith into action, really having the accountability to go there. So
Yeah,
I'm
and to hit on that, like, one of my there's a quote that I coined. It like there's a lot of inspiration in the world, but there's not a lot of application in the world, especially in the world of social media, and like how much access we have to content and how much dopamine the dopamine hits we get off of hearing things that quote unquote motivate us, right? But like, what is motivation if we don't actually take action on it? So like, how can we take the inspiration that we get? And I'm not demonizing inspiration. I think inspiration is actually a great thing that the world needs. But I think what's more important is focusing on the next step. Like, how can we take the inspiration that we receive and turn that into application as fast as possible?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well said. All right. Anything else about just take a step? I mean, talk a tiny bit
Yeah.
about just like the evolution of take a step from those first episodes to like, when did you start inviting guests on
Yeah.
your podcast? Who were some of the early guests? Give us a highlight reel.
Yeah.
Just things that stand out in your mind, like pivotal moments in the history of the podcast.
Yeah, and like, I'll be very anxious to go back and listen to this episode at episode 100, because it's still, I firmly
Sure.
believe it's still like full speed and evolution mode. Like, I think it's going to continually evolve for a long time, especially still being so young and where we're at. But looking back, it's like I said, I started an Instagram page and started putting out the most cringy videos of all time. And at the beginning of 2023, like, I don't delete anything. So if you go back and look at my Instagram, if you want to take the time and scroll down the Take a Step page, you'll get some cringeworthy content. I promise you. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's like there are some moments specifically that are great, but for me, it's like looking back and seeing the poor quality of content. It's a necessity in order for someone to get to where they want to go, and I fully believe that. Like, when you at Woodcraft South, when you first started woodworking, like the first piece you ever did, I'm sure it was the most beautiful piece of all time, right?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed of the early work that I put out.
Exactly. Sure. And like, I think I like that's the mindset that really drove me to start Take a Step, was like, everybody gets so consumed and goes through the process of paralysis by analysis because they want everything to be perfect. They don't want to be judged. They want to make sure that it's like this perfect quality piece of, whether if it's content or a product. But at the end of the day, like, nobody's going to be good right when they start something.
And that all 100% stems from pride, all of it.
One, yeah, and there's a great book, and I say it's a great book. I still haven't read it, but I've listened to so many podcasts by the author. But ego is the enemy. It's like the concept of our ego holds so, especially young men, back because they want to be respected. They want to look like they've got it all figured out. But for me, like in starting out, I had nothing figured out. I didn't know how to produce any content. I had an iPhone that I would turn on selfie mode and just start saying things that I was reading and things that, you know, resonated with me that I was listening to, and doing that over and over and over. Like, I'm not saying I'm like amazing at creating content now, but if you look at, you know, the beginning of 2023 to right now, it's completely different content that's being put out now. So I say all that to say, like, it just seeing the evolution of, you know, just putting together some cringeworthy posts at the beginning of 23, starting the podcast at the end of 2023, as just doing solo episodes. Like I bought a $20 mic off Amazon. I had GarageBand for free on a Mac. And I just started talking into, I would write a script and I would just read through the script, and I'm like, all right, this is how we're going to get started. And it took, like, you know, it probably took me 2.5 hours to record a 20-minute episode because I kept stuttering. I kept having to go back and clip it. Like, why can't I just say it clearly? But I got to a point where I'm just like, this is a necessity in order for me to get to where I want to go. I just, you know, staying in that mindset. And now I get to a point to where, you know, I don't really script anything. I like having free conversations because I think that's what's authentic about it. But yeah, that's that. So it started with those, you know, scripted $20 mic GarageBand type podcast at the end of 2023. Got, you know, took the next step and made the investment into a little bit of higher quality software that I can record and do video through, going into 2024, and then started having some guests on, and throughout 2024 just kind of built it, refined the craft, tried to really get good at you know, asking good questions and diving deeper into conversations with guests. And it's been fun to, you know, the cool part about having a podcast is, like, you get access to people that you don't typically get access to. Like, I can reach out to people that I've been, you know, I've absorbed a ton of their content on social media, and reach out and be like, hey, got the Take a Step podcast, would love to have you on, showcase you to my audience, and just hear a little bit more about your story. And, you know, it gives you the ability to have those conversations with people like, you know, the head pastor at our church, Samar Masad, who's, you know, the head pastor at Woodstock City Church, which is like, I feel like it's kind of bad to say that it's tough to get access to your pastor, but, you know, the church does a really good job at making a big church feel small. But at the end of the day, it's like, how often will I be able to sit down for an hour and a half and have a deep conversation with somebody who leads such a large congregation? It's like, I wouldn't likely be able to do that, at least with the ease that I was able to do it, unless I have the Take a Step podcast. So it's just been really cool to be able to see the evolution, see the perks that come with it, with sticking with the process. And I still feel like I'm still in the process, and love to see where it's going.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. You know, I think something you said a couple minutes ago, I've just been ruminating on while listening carefully. But I think, you know, like there is something to be said for an aged person who's accumulated wisdom over the course of their life. But there's also, I think what really draws people to your content is not just the wisdom that they're receiving, but also the authenticity. You know, like you exude authenticity as much as you exude wisdom, and you're presenting content that people can relate to, not just aspire to, and that's really super valuable.
Yeah, and I think that builds trust, right? I think it gives something that people will actually resonate with, because like I can go on and find, like, read a biography about Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all these guys that have achieved big things. So there's those guys, and then there's the people that you go on social media and try to look like those guys, but everybody knows that the Lamborghini's rented, everybody knows the Ferrari's rented, everyone knows you rented the house for a weekend and you're trying to look like you've done something. At the end of the day, it's like, I don't relate to that. I don't really like it. Maybe I'll watch it for some entertainment because it might be fun to watch. But at the end of the day, if I'm trying to actually build a community, why would I try to put on a facade and look like I'm someone I'm not? Like I'm trying to build a movement of young men who want to surround themselves with like-minded guys. If I try to flaunt flashy sports cars and this lifestyle that doesn't relate to anybody else that's actually in the audience I'm trying to build, then what good am I doing?
Man, yeah, well said. So let's ask a few more questions just about Take a Step. Just for some to take a step back here for a second, pivot. Just tell us where the future of the podcast is going. What you think about what the next developments are for Take a Step, and then we'll just get it in a little bit more to your personal life, your family life, who you
Yeah.
are as a man, and then that'll be it. So, anything
Yeah.
else you'd say about Take a Step and where
Yeah.
the future lies, what the
Yeah.
future holds for Take a Step?
There's a lot I could talk about, and I really do have a pretty big vision for where I want to take it, and I think it's all of it's very realistic for where I want to go. So I love doing the podcast. I think the podcast is something that it provides value for people. It builds trust with people. It from the value perspective, like bringing on people. Like I'm not claiming to have all of this experience and all of this wisdom that I'm going to, come listen to the Take a Step podcast and Josh Johnston's going to tell you something that's going to change your life. That would be great. Like, I hope you take some of the things I say and apply them and see some real change. But I love being able to be the facilitator. I love going and finding people, having conversations with them, because I take something every time I have a guest on. I take multiple things away from that conversation that are extremely valuable, that have an impact on my life. And I know if I do that and I have those conversations, then everyone listening to that's in that demographic will as well. And I love that. That's kind of what I see as the future of the podcast, is continuing to build the brand, bring people on that took action in their lives, took a risk, and are seeing the fruits of the years of labor that they've put in. So I love that. That's kind of what I see as the nature of the podcast. But for Take a Step as a whole, man, like, and my mission for Take a Step is to redefine the way that young men view success by shifting their focus from the destination to the process, and really building a community of guys that are committed to that mission. So what that looks like for me long term is launching what's called the Tribe. The Tribe is the online community for young men that want to surround themselves with like-minded guys, that want to be challenged, that want to be that want to build relationships with guys that, like I said earlier, go beneath the surface level. It's very hard and can be uncomfortable and awkward to have the conversations with people that go beneath the surface level, and asking for accountability and talking about goals and your challenges. So what I want to do through the Tribe is bring guys together where I'm curating an environment for those conversations to be had and those relationships to be built. And how it's starting, and this could evolve with time, but essentially how it's starting is to kind of install small groups of guys that want to come together, and we're gonna have monthly calls. We're gonna really dive in as far as like, hey, what are you going through right now? What do you need? What can you use support with? And have people really share. And once they share, give time for people to really think about what experiences they've had that they could provide some good insight. And then having that iron sharpens iron approach. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, one person sharpens another. And that's kind of really the format of how the groups are going to be built and how the Tribe is going to grow. So that's kind of, I'm really excited for that, because I think that's going to be the future business model for Take a Step, is building this this community. And I see it growing, like eventually long term, I would love to see it be a national community where we have, Take a Step Atlanta, Take a Step Nashville, Take a Step Charlotte, Austin, where you have these pockets of groups for the Tribe where we can go to and have meetups and continue to facilitate this community that's grown. So that's one thing I would love to do. So one thing I started doing this year is I started doing in-person workshops. Like also another way to just build community, bring guys together in person, have some sort of a growth minded format to it, do a workout at the end, So I would love to do that and scale that. I would love to take that to companies that have like entry level teams that want to come in and do like a half day workshop for their team on, not only focusing on how they're growing the company, but how are they growing their staff? How are they growing the people that work for the company? So I would love to have some sort of a corporate offer like that. I have a vision for doing some retreats. I have a vision for writing a few books based on the messaging of Take a Step. So there's a lot I want to go. There's a lot of places I want to take a step. But really at the end of the day, it's like, I got to take it one step at a time, because if I focus on the destination, like I said, there's going to be a lack of fulfillment in that journey. And I really want to find fulfillment in the process and just the steps I'm taking along the way. So it's focusing on the podcast right now, focusing on getting the tribe launched and having impact there, and seeing where it goes.
That's on point and on brand. You're practicing what you preach, man. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So good. All right, man. So let's pivot here to just focusing in a little bit more on who you are. You are a man of discipline and intentional living. Can you just share with us some of your systems, routines, daily or otherwise, just things that keep you on track in life?
Yeah, it's do you want my answer or my wife's answer? That's what I'll ask first.
we thirst for authenticity.
Yeah,
Give us the real deal, man.
It is, and like, to be honest, like I try to live as intentionally as possible. I try to be very disciplined. I try to have good communication with that, and like it is not perfect. I try to have good systems built out to where every single day flows with good structure. That doesn't always work out. There's a huge phase right now of like the morning routines, and like what does your routine look like? How do you script out your routine? This is my philosophy on routines. Is the best routine, the best plan is one that you're going to follow. It's one that you're going to stick to. Like, you can spend so long being so detailed with what your mornings look like, with what your evenings look like, with what your work schedule looks like, with what your family time is going to look like. But if you don't stick to it, then what's the point in making the routine and like setting the plan? So for me, I go with the approach of simple is better. So like for example, my mornings, in order for me to accomplish everything that I need to accomplish, I got to get up pretty early. I love fitness. Take a Step is something that I'm building technically on the side right now. So like I have to make Take a Step working hours. So I like on weekdays, I get up at 4:30. I have my intentional time with God in the morning. So recently I started, instead of like waking up and sitting down and praying, I have a morning tea that I drink, as far as just like a nutrition drink in the morning. So I started making that, and then I'll go on a walk to spend my time with God. And I'll it's like 5 to 10 minutes where like physically, I feel like I get physically and mentally aware. I'm outside before anyone's up. It's still dark outside. I feel like I have that presence and that's like silence and solitude with God, which I think really gives me a good connection. So I'll do that first thing to start the day. I'll come back, get my workout clothes on. And I'll do some sort of fitness pretty much every day. So from there, it's whether if it's a group workout, I work out with a group called F3. It's a men's workout group that does boot camp style workouts. So I'll do that sometimes. I have a gym in my garage. I'll do a strength training session in my garage. My F3 name is Quadzilla.
Yeah, it is.
I decided to wear some short running shorts to my first F3 workout and got named Quadzilla.
Showed off them odds.
But yeah, so either F3, I'll hit a strength training session,
yep,
or I'll go for a run. That's kind of what I'll do after that, and then I'll come back. My Take a Step working hours are 7 to 9 in the morning. So whatever I have going on, whether if it's writing the newsletter, whether if it's journaling, whether if it's continuing to build out the back end of what the tribe's going to be, scheduling content, recording content, outreach to potential podcast guests, like whatever it is that I'm doing that's going to continue to spearhead Take a Step forward. That's kind of the hours that I really spend on building that. And then sometimes, whether if it's recording a podcast, sometimes I'll do that at lunch or later on in the evening, but I really try to stay focused and intentional on having those early morning hours focused on Take a Step work. So there's that. From a nutrition standpoint, my nutrition plan, like I said, I like to keep it simple. My nutrition plan is know what you're going to eat the day before. Like from
That is simple.
yeah, it's like, but at the end of the day, I think the reason why so many people struggle with their nutrition is because they go for convenience because they don't have a plan. But
Man, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like in
I do.
convenience, like tell me, can you name one option that's convenient that is a good, healthy choice nutritionally?
Nope, not in my context.
It's like I say that like the reason that is my philosophy is because if I can just like say, hey, the night before, what am I going to eat tomorrow? I don't have to like wait and 30 minutes before lunch be like, oh crap, what am I going to eat today? And then choose the convenient option, throw something in the microwave and eat something that's completely fake. So what real food am I going to eat tomorrow? And having a plan for what that is, I think is a simple plan. It's an effective plan.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as everything else, I try to have really after 5:00, like after my work day is over, I try so hard to be focused on family. And like I'm sure any other young entrepreneur out there, that is one of the biggest challenges that I fight right now because we're what are we 3.5 years into our marriage. We have a 9-month-old daughter. It's like this should be the time in my life where it's like family is everything, right? We're building the foundation. It's fun. Like it's like we're still kind of in this honeymoon phase, but it's starting to become like this is the life that we're building together. So it is a lot of fun. But man, I'm not gonna lie. Like and like my wife would say the same thing. It's like I still battle so hard with having this passion on what I want to build professionally because at the like I say it's so that I can provide a life for my family, but then at the same time I'm kind of taking away the time that we get to spend right now. So it's like, where's the give and take between that? And I fight that battle all the time. So I love to say I have this clear, structured routine that makes everything easy, and it's a system. But at the end of the day, it's like that would be a lie. So it really it's like being very. I think the key in all of it is being self-aware. Because if I were to just brush it under the rug and act like there's nothing going on, then that's how things build up. And you think about Mentos in a Coke bottle. It's like like you're just shaking it up, and eventually the pressure is going to build up and it's going to overflow. So for me, it's like, how can I be very upfront and acknowledging like the challenges that I'm facing right now, so that I can actually consider and think about and have conversations with people about a way to actually overcome them. Because if you just avoid them, the problem's not going away. So I know that was a rant, but that's just like authentic on where I am right now and trying to really prioritize family time and building what I want to build at the same time.
No, that's great, man. That's really good. And it gave us a little bit of a window into your family life and everything too. So that's great. Kind of killed, well, I'm tracking,
Yeah.
Killed two birds with one stone there. That's great. All right, man. You mentioned the 1% Club there. You mentioned it a lot in your podcast and throughout, my interaction with you, of course. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the 1% Club in the first place.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. So like I said, when I was at my second corporate job, I had started Take a Step, and I started the podcast like midway towards the back half of 2023. And on like the second or third episode, I referenced a book called The 4-8 Principle. Yep. And the 4-8 Principle, written by Tommy Newberry. And I ended up cutting up a clip from that episode and I posted it on Instagram and I tagged him in it. And I knew of Tommy because I knew he was an Atlanta guy. I knew he did something in the like success coaching world or something like that. And my mom actually got me the book, but what she didn't tell me was that like in the early 2000s, my parents and Tommy and his wife were in a small group together through the church that they were going to at the time. Cool. So when I posted that post, Tommy reached out to my dad and was like, hey, I saw what Josh is working on. It seems like there's a lot of, similar mindsets that we have. We're actually looking to start hiring and bring on someone to oversee our sales process because there's a lot of ways we want to scale. My dad, like, he knew what I was trying to build and he knew like the passions I had. And he was like, Tommy, like, y'all need to connect 100%. So we ended up getting connected. And we spoke throughout the course of 2023, probably, I mean, until almost the very end of 2023, which is when they put an offer together for me and I joined, and I really head up our sales process. So anyone that is looking for anyone that's an entrepreneur, that is a business leader, that is looking for some structure, that is looking for some clarity on how they're building the professional life that they want and also the personal life that they want, how those can really experience alignment through creating good structure. That's what we focus on. But it was very interesting and unique on how me stepping out, starting to Take a Step brand, starting the podcast, putting out, a post that I didn't really think much of. I just thought, Tommy might see it and respond and be like, hey, love the work you're doing. But to actually see it result in that was just like all the evidence to me that God had his hand in the story of me just, wanting to start this thing I'm passionate about, having no clue where it was going to lead to. And it actually led to my next full-time role that I'm very thankful to be affiliated with now.
Man, that's really cool looking back. I love, just seeing the hand of God kind of orchestrating all that in the background. It's really cool that it was kind of unbeknownst to you that your parents had that connection to him. And
yeah,
man, that's awesome. Okay, so just a couple more questions here. I'd love to just hear about some of the most impactful relationships in your life. Give you the opportunity before we start to wrap this thing up, just to talk about a few of the people in your life who have been the most impactful on you. Just to give some shout outs to your people. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I mentioned the guys in college, for example. There's a select group of three guys. Austin Bishop, Craig Barton, Cason Brown. Like those three guys were like pivotal in me becoming, the man I became post grad, and really like laying the foundation. I'll also shout out my two coaches for sure, Coach Ross and Coach Crowley. Like those were two guys that, like, you talk about guys that will challenge you, guys that will like call you out on what you say, on who you say you are, what you say you're doing, and be unashamed about it, just to hold you accountable. Those were two guys that really they opened my eyes to what that actually looks like. So those guys specifically, obviously, like my wife we have a very unique relationship, and it's amazing because we met each other at a phase in life where we were both living for the world. We were both, we had no like solid foundation in our faith. We had no solid foundation in like who we actually wanted to be in our life or in our lives. And I think we met each other, and we've kind of been on this growth journey together. Like it's like we loved going out when we first met. We don't go out really at all anymore. We didn't really have a clear plan or a clear vision on who we wanted to be. We talk about the life we're building and where we're going all the time now. So it's like seeing how I've grown lines up exactly with seeing how she's grown. So Jaden is obvious. She's been probably the most pivotal factor in who I am today. And now being able to be parents together and build our family together has been, it's been just such a cool experience, and it's been very just influential in my life, and it helps me see things from a different perspective on like what my why is, like why am I actually doing what I'm doing. And that's what I said earlier with the question of, I say that I'm building something so that I can afford my family the life we want down the road, but I'm sacrificing the family time I get right now. Like I would never think to ask that question if it wasn't Jaden in my life. Like if it wasn't someone like that who challenged me, who was real with me. We like another cool part about our story is like we were good friends. Like we ran in the same friend group for a full year before we ever started dating. So we were like best friends, and then we started dating. So like one piece of advice I always give to people who are in kind of like questioning on, who they should be looking for in a significant other. It's like, find a best friend before you find a relationship, before you find a girlfriend or a potential partner. It's like, we were best friends. So like it sounds crazy to people today, Turner, but we actually enjoy spending time together. Like we love being together, and like
I can attest to that. I see that when I hang out with you guys. I mean,
like when I have an opportunity to go play golf, I'm like, grab Emmy, throw on the carrier, let's go ride 9 holes and get dinner.
Come on.
But like at the end of the day, so like I'll kind of bring it all back in. But those three guys in college, my coaches, Jaden, my family's been like unbelievably incredible. I didn't really realize the blessing that I had with my family until I went to college and saw all these different backgrounds that people came from. But my wife, my mom Gwendy, my dad Gip, my brother Jake, my sister Leela, all of those people have really brought me to become the man I am today.
Yeah, man. When you posted about your 50 miler, and I saw your parents show up in Chattanooga, that was awesome, man. That was
Yeah.
just like even that, just them being there, you knew like, oh, dude, yeah, they support what their son is doing. That is really cool.
Oh, dude, it was so that was incredible.
That's awesome, man. Really good stuff. So I like this question. Somebody asked me this a couple years ago, and I jotted it down in my little notes section on my iPhone. But when it's all said and done, Josh Johnston, you're an old man. Your old friend Turner is 100 years old, still kicking it. You're in your 80s, pouring out life wisdom to your great grandchildren. Looking back as the distant future you, what do you want to be able to say about your life?
I love that question. Man,
Take
I
a
would say
minute.
can I have two answers?
Absolutely.
Number one, I would say I investigated what God's purpose was for my life, and I pursued that to the best of my abilities. I think so many people get caught building this life that everyone else tells them they should live, or they get caught building a life that is just comfortable. That there's not a lot of adversity that's involved. It's the path of least resistance, and then get caught wasting away Monday through Friday, living for the weekend, living for the little bit of vacation time they get, hoping they can build retirement and wait and enjoy their life from 65 until they die. I don't think that's what God has called us to. And I know that might ruffle some feathers, but at the end, like I think
Good.
God has designed each and every person on purpose for a specific purpose. And if we don't make the intentional effort to discover what that purpose is and then take action on it, then how are we being a good steward of the life that God has blessed us to live? So like at the end of the day, have you done the work to try to discover and figure out what is it, like how do I actually provide value to this world? Maybe that's a good place to start when you're trying to find your purpose. Like where do I actually provide the people around me the most value? And then how can I take more action on that? How can I build a life based on that? So that's one thing. Like I want to say that I investigated what my purpose was and took full action on it. And then there was a quote that I heard that's kind of in line with that a couple months ago that is one of the best things I've ever heard. I'd rather regret the things I did than the things I never tried.
Yeah.
Like
I've heard you say it. Love it.
I would rather do something and have regret that I did it than always ask the question, what if? Like if take a step fails, if it crashes and burns, oh well. I'll go back to working a corporate job, or I'll figure out something else that I love and try to take action on that. But I like how horrible would it be for me to look back when I'm 80 and be like, golly, like what would have happened if I did something about that take a step thing? Like this is another cool like side note off that is like seeing how you provide the world value as an obligation for you to take action. Like if let's just say take a step grows to what I want it to grow to, and it has an impact on thousands of young men around the country, like that would be incredible. But you know what would be worse? You know it would be like I think have a greater impact on the negative side of the equation is if I never did anything and they never had the opportunity to receive the impact that take a step provided them. Like I think, and because of that, I really see me continuing to grow and work and build this business and build this community as like my obligation. I think it's something that God has given me for a specific reason, and I think I would do the world a disservice if I didn't take full action on it.
Yeah, man. Awesome stuff. Well, it's funny because every time you have a guest on and you wrap up the podcast, which is what we're getting down to here, you kind of ask them just like if there's one thing that they would drop on the audience, like what's the one thing that you would share. I think I will ask you that, but I also just want to encourage you in the fact that like what you're doing through the podcast, what you're building through the tribe, in a real way. Like it's not just one thing. You're doing it one step at a time, just
Mhm.
like it's in the name. But just thank you, man. Thank you for the life that you're living. Thank you for caring so much about wisdom and perspective and what's good and what's right and what's best, for young men to build their lives on these principles. Um, you're a good man. I'm super blessed to even just be a small part of what you're doing. And I'm looking forward to watching what you've been describing here. I've
Mhm.
enjoyed this last year of really getting to know you and taking in who you are and what you say, watching you live out what you preach, practice what you preach, and bring this content. So thank you. Um, if there is one thing else that we haven't covered today, or just to summarize some of the things that we would say, that you would say, what would you leave the audience with as we wrap up today?
Yeah, so I have a book idea that I'm working on, and it's based on this principle that I'm still kind of developing mentally, but we can talk about it just for a second
Mm-hmm.
and see where it goes. But the 12:2 code is what I'm calling it.
Okay.
Um, Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by putting to the test you may be able to discern what is the will of God."
Yeah.
So the 12:2 code that I'm coining is essentially renewal plus action equals transformation. So renewal, what does renewal look like? How are you renewing your mind? How are you diving into the word? How are you spending time with God and building that relationship? How are you renewing your body? How are you renewing your skill set? So like how are you renewing yourself consistently? But the thing is it doesn't stop with renewal. Renewal is similar to inspiration. Like renewal is pivotal. Renewal is very important. But if we don't put it to the test, if we don't take action on that, on what we learn, we stay at a standstill. I actually think it's a net negative for the reason of it gives you the feeling like you're doing something, but you're not doing anything at all. So while the world is progressing and people are taking steps around you, you feel like you are because you've received this dose of dopamine, this inspiration, this motivation that you think you're doing something and you're better than you are, but in reality, you're exactly where you were while other people are taking steps forward. So renew your mind, renew your body, renew your spirit, and put it to the test. Put it to the test, being how are you how are you taking a step in your life? How are you taking a risk? How are you doing something that might be different than what the world says? Like he starts off the verse, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world." Why would Paul start the verse like that? It's because that is what is natural to us. It is natural for us to conform to the world around us because that's what makes us feel comfortable. I've got a news flash, Turner. Comfort leads to more discomfort. Choosing comfort leads to more discomfort. If you want to build a life that you actually think is comfortable, it's going to take putting yourself through hard times, through trials, and that is what happens when you put when you put things to the test, when you take that step. So if you want to transform your life, if you want to live a life that actually brings purpose and brings fulfillment to your life, renew your mind and put it to the test. Renew your mind and take action.
Dude, on it. Yes, that's great. I love hearing that develop even further from you met that's the content that I was referring to earlier. I just don't say it as eloquently as you do, but the weekly mile from two times ago. Just
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. I can't wait to read the book. Sounds great.
awesome. Well, Turner, seriously, like I really appreciate you coming to me with the idea of having this format for the 50th episode. It's so crazy to think that we're 50 episodes in. I can't wait for 50 more. But I appreciate just the value that you've brought to my life, the wisdom that you've brought, the just the inspiration you are to both myself and everybody that I see around you. So thank you for coming on and spearheading this conversation. I really appreciate it.
Of course, man. Enjoyed it thoroughly. I'll let you wrap it up, but definitely excited for you. Congratulations, man. Episode 50 in the books.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Guys, thank you for listening to another episode of the Take a Step podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a rating or a review on whichever platform you're listening. Guys, if you find value in this episode or any episode, share it with a friend. Post it on your story. Tag Take a Step, and let's continue building this community of inspiring young men to take action and really rejecting the destination and embracing the process. So guys, no matter where you are on your growth journey, every mile begins with a step. We'll talk to you in the next episode.